Okay, so this is our fourth master class, and it comes like perhaps a couple of weeks before the midterm exam. I gather that by now you guys have a lot in terms of how far you have gone with the syllabus, whether you are with me or with Dr. Mohsen or Dr. Aro. So how far did you go so far? And let me address those who do not belong to my class. Do we have people from other classes?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, Rahat. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah.
So how far, I mean, are you with Dr. Arwa or Dr. Mohsen?
Yeah, Dr. Arwa.
Arwa. So how far have you gone so far?
خلاص خلصنا كل شيء الحمد لله وجالسين الحين ندرس للمد.
This, which means that you have done, Tom's Midnight Garden and also the Tilo
Peter
Peter
Rabbit.
Rap.
Yeah.
Nice. Mumtaz, good. So this is as far as Dr. Arwa's class is concerned. How about Dr. Mohsen's class? If we have people from Dr. Mohsen's class, can you come to the mic and share where you have started so far? Okay. So Haya is saying that you guys finished no, I'm sorry, the Tilo Peter Rapid uh, yesterday. That's interesting. And we also did just that. Okay, so let's talk about them. Um, we're doing a number of revision classes. We started in my regular class, so that's why I'm not going to start the way I started in my regular class, which was about the Little Peter Rabbit. I'm going to start with Tom's Midnight Garden, so that when we meet next week, we can have um, we can have Little Peter Rabbit. Let me just remind you or alert you perhaps to the fact that inshallah we're launching at least one podcast about the course, I mean, the things that we have done, and I'll be entertaining my other two colleagues, Dr. Mohsen and Dr. Arwa. This is going to be a session that you don't want to miss. I'll arrange and I'll send you. I mean, we're going to use the masterclass link as always. But it doesn't have to be a Thursday. It can do it earlier. So I'm hopeful that the idea and you find the idea interesting. Okay, so let's start with Tom's Midnight Garden, but perhaps no, and because obviously if we start with picture books and we apply that would be irrelevant because Tom's Midnight Garden is not a picture book. So let's start with Tom's Midnight Garden while it is fresh in everybody's minds. No, no, not really. I mean, I don't know what's getting confused a little bit. It's a long day and it's a long week. And okay, Tom's Midnight Garden. What do we know? I would like to hear from you. So, what clicked with you? What is it that you liked about Tom's Midnight Garden? So somebody's sending something to Ercel or Rabbit. If you guys have the Rabbit, can you send it to people in the material group? It's very strange. Mariam Suleiman is asking for the Rabbit. Thank you, Sufana. Okay, so it's Tom's Midnight Garden that we are revising, everyone. But perhaps again, on second thoughts, I think I should be starting with what our expectations are when it comes to the midterm in terms of um, um, things that can earn you the marks that you think you deserve. And perhaps before we do that, we talk about how many questions and which of them or which section is short answers and which is not. So pretty much the same thing. If you're doing EA 300A, it's going to be the self same thing. If you have done A to 30A and B, it's going to be the self same thing, the same template, which means that you have two sections, a short answers section, and of course a long answers essay type question section. Short answers, we're expecting normally three questions, and you are required to answer two of the three. Okay. Um, and these are short answers, and we don't expect you to write a couple of lines. Saying it's short does not mean it should be short. Short. It should be like a paragraph. No, it should be short and sweet. And sweetness here means that it has to be clear. It has to be comprehensive. It has to be relevant. I'll come to this point again in a minute. So this is the short answers sections. Like I said, you have three questions and you answer, or you're obliged to answer two, and then we move on to the long answer questions. You're normally asked to write a long essay. You normally have two questions, and you choose one of them unless um, the close reading question is obligatory. I don't believe that if you have um, no, I don't believe that there is obligation in there. Anyway, in the essay or long essay part, you should be writing an essay. And of course, writing an essay means that it has to be long. Writing perhaps 200 words wouldn't يعني kind of meet this element of comprehensiveness, because we give you something that needs elaboration and illustrations. So make sure that your essays are long, but of course not too long. I mean, you wouldn't write 4 or 5 pages. No, this is not what we have in mind. 3 pages would be nice. Again, 3 pages. Oh, it's not about writing too much or too little, I know, but when we give you questions, we normally want you to cover all the aspects of the question. So it wouldn't be a waste of time if you spend some time, or if you invest some time reading the question, and covering its different aspects, and then you start to answer. So writing essay questions in the long essay part should not be in points, should not be um, brief, should be according to the standards of academic writing, which means that you're writing an essay where you should be starting with an introduction, and then you develop the ideas that you include in the introduction in the body paragraph, and then you conclude the whole thing. So this is our concept of essay writing, which I think also coincides with your concept. You've been writing essays for quite some time, and I think you know how to do it. So this is as far as the format is concerned. Let's talk about the expectations in terms of ideas and meaning. Again, I'm stressing the fact that you have to be clear. Clarity is very important. Clarity in thoughts. You don't contradict yourself. You write clear English. I mean, your ideas should also be clear. And then from clarity, We talk about relevance. You don't set your own questions, and because this is an observation that we have been seeing and dealing with for so long, the idea that people set their own questions and they go about answering them. Of course, this is not acceptable. You answer the questions that we ask you, not your own questions. Again, giving us answers that are uh, overly comprehensive. Comprehensiveness is a good thing, shumul, but obviously what people do is not comprehensiveness. They give you the whole novel or the whole picture book, all the ideas that you want and the ideas that you never thought of. This is, of course, detrimental to a good mark. We don't want you to give us the whole uh, um, discussions on a certain picture book or a certain novel, and you don't give us everything, and you ask us to choose whatever we want or like. No, this is not academic writing. You should focus. You should know what is required and then act accordingly. So writing everything wouldn't help. Also, and correspondingly, writing very little wouldn't help either. So you need to invest the right amount of time reading the question, and then you start answering. So again, we're talking about relevance, clarity, and of course, comprehensiveness. Comprehensiveness means that you don't only tackle an aspect when what is required is a couple of aspects, or perhaps three, or perhaps four. So this is as far as the expectations are. Of course, this is all written in sand unless and until we give you concrete examples, which is what I intend to do next week, where we'll have kind of uh, images that we can unpack together. We break the image to its basic components. We give you a passage from Tom's Midnight Garden, for example, and we read it together and highlight whatever we think is important, whatever we think is significant in, because normally when we give you a passage for close reading purposes, we don't just choose any passage. It's not arbitrary. It's something that we think very deeply about, so that the passage can be a true representation of certain ideas that we want you to expand on and address and talk about. So we'll do this part, inshallah. So somebody was asking a question. Let me see what the question is or was. طيب دكتور، نركز على إيش بالظبط؟ القصة حقتهم طويلة شاملة أشياء كتير. This is a question that I wouldn't expect of a graduating student. You are graduating this semester, and this kind of question is we're, I mean, focusing on something and leaving others is obviously very counterproductive. You are in EA 300B, Ustaz. This is EA 300B. Perhaps you're in the wrong room or something. Yeah. Even though, well, I mean, I'm sure you have gone through A to 30A and B. So it's not about that. It's about you being with us long enough to know that this idea of, focusing on something and leaving others is not the best policy. Again, you still have time. If you haven't done anything and you're starting from today, you can still read, you can still understand, you can still uh, watch the videos that we have, the different teachers, and you can do a good job. So the idea of focusing on something, because we don't normally leave anything. I mean, the questions that we have are, addressing and covering the whole material. So you'll have to study everything. And what is sweet and nice about EA 300B is that we don't overwhelm you with so much material like in other courses, right? So it's a sweet and short course. I mean, I don't know whether you guys share the sentiment or not, but this is what I feel. You only have one picture book and you only have one novel, right? In the past, we used to have, uh, um, two picture books and a novel for the midterm. We don't have that this time around, which is obviously good news. So, again, the idea of focusing on something means that you are going to memorize stuff. Well, this is actually not our intention. We don't test your memories, mind you. We test your ability to kind of read the material, process it very well, and then you make a synthesis out of it. Your ideas, my ideas, the book's ideas, and you put them together and you give us something nice and decent. This is what scholarship and academic writing are about. Um, okay, so this is as far as our expectations are concerned for the midterm, and they also apply to the final exam. If you have any questions, come to the mic and share them with us before we start talking about Tom's Midnight God. No questions? Okay, fine.
Doctor, I
Yeah,
have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
Regarding the ghost and guests, I wanted to understand, does Tom or Amy are ghosts or not? Because I'm confused in this point.
Um, you mean you're talking about Tom and Hattie, right?
Yeah, I mean Tom and Hattie.
Yes. That one, yeah, I'll talk about that. Any other questions? Okay. So let's talk about Tom's Midnight Garden. Let's talk about everything. And I think I sent you like a video, a documentary that sums up the whole idea. Did you have a chance to go over that? I sent a couple of videos. One is a short in YouTube's terms, it's a short. And the other is a full video itself, like 20 minutes or so. So have you watched that?
I only watched the short one, and the other
Mhm.
one I only watched 10 minutes. I couldn't
That's
continue.
that's interesting. Thank you, Haya. Anybody else? Mm, okay. طيب. So if you have, I mean, obviously you were busy or something. Let me give you the benefit of the doubt. They are, I mean, very comprehensive. I would recommend very strongly that you watch the 20 plus minutes video. It's amazing because it's very comprehensive. If you want a true revision, you'll find it very comprehensive and very clear. And of course, It takes the form of a documentary where you have also people and stuff. So I think it brings the whole thing alive for you. Make sure that you watch the video. And of course, the short was primarily about the power of the imagination. Again, it's so little or small, but it has lots of ideas, especially when it comes to this idea of fancy and the power of the imagination. Okay, so it's Tom's Midnight Garden that we are going over. Again, we spoke a lot about this relationship between Hattie and Tom, and who is obviously influencing whom, and we spoke about different aspects of the novel, being, you know, written post Second World War, being meant as perhaps escapist literature, where obviously the kids and perhaps the people who are even bigger than kids can fly away from the here and the now at the time. And we're talking about the late 50s, where people were not happy with their living conditions. So it was, you can consider it escapist literature if you like. You can consider it like a statement against the government and its broken promises, and the idea that of all the ages, the writer chooses the Victorian age for Tom and Hattie to go to is very significant, given the fact that the Victorian age is a high point in the history of um, Britain, given the fact that it was the age of the empire and they had colonial holdings and possessions everywhere. They were very rich. And so Tom's Midnight Garden can be interpreted on different levels, and depending on how you see it and depends on your background. The question remains whether it is a good read or not. So what do you think? I'm not sure if you have read the original text, but at least let's try. Have you read the text now that this was like from the first week and we're now week 6, right? So have you read the text? Have you read Tom's Midnight Garden? If you have done that, raise your hand. Okay. So Sufana did. Anybody else?
Actually, doctor, I read just like summary, but a long summary, not the original text.
Okay. Wafa, you're raising your hand. Are you trying to say that you read it? The novel, the full novel? Okay. So I'll take it that Wafa read it too. Oh, and Budur read a good summary. Anybody else?
I just read the summary and I watched
Mm,
the movie. I think
nice.
they are enough to understand the idea of Tom Midnight
Yeah,
Garden.
yeah, that's interesting. The fact that, um, yeah. So reading a movie is also very interesting because in this case you will have more than one author. You have the original writer and you also have the director whose vision does not necessarily and usually coincide with or align with the vision of the original author. But and you have this kind of problem. Sometimes people say that with the power of the picture, and if it's a movie, you feel it more, and some other people say no, I'm having it as a movie, kind of restrict us and curb and limit the potential for flying with our imagination. Um, so it can be either, as a matter of fact. So Tom's Midnight Garden is what we're doing. Again, it's Tom that we're talking about primarily, and it's a garden that he is taken to. And of course, between Tom and the garden, lots of ideas and substance goes, right? So when we talk about Tom, we talk about a boy, like typical boys in children's literature, um, who embarks on a journey, can be physical and can also be metaphorical, and can be more or less like an allegory, which means that the whole novel can be a metaphor for something. So this is what we're trying to also explore and uncover. So it's Tom that we're having, and the setting is a garden, but not like just um, it's not just another garden. Obviously, it's a magical garden and full of possibilities, and this is actually what happened. The possibilities came with the garden. So let's talk about Tom before the garden and Tom after, having this garden, and what kind of boy was he before the garden, and what happened to him intellectually and emotionally when he was part of the garden, when he had a playmate like Hattie. So let's talk about it. What do you have to say about it? Yeah, Gamma, this is a master class. Master classes are about sharing. So come to the mic and share. We're not judging. We would love to listen to what you have to say. What comes to your mind? Let's talk about the whole experience, Tom's Midnight Garden. If you are now, yeah, um, yeah, I'll come to you,
Victor,
Sufana.
can I answer?
Yeah, let me just, because I have this flash that just came. If we're voting, I mean, and this is actually something that we do all the time. If you have to choose between the two for a favorite, now that you have read the two, the um, picture book and also the novel, which of them is your favorite and why? And then we go to Sufana is going to say what she wanted to say, and but before she does that, I would like to also see which of the two is her favorite. Yeah, Sufana, go ahead.
No, I was going to just reflect on the main themes that we took regarding Tom's Midnight Garden. So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
going to take a bit of a minute. So if we go to your point first, then we can
Okay.
go to that.
So let's talk about the favorite. Which of them is your favorite?
From the movie or the book?
No, no, I'm talking about the picture book and the novel. Which
Oh,
of them you like more?
uh, I can't really decide which I like more because I find that each fits a certain narrative in a certain time, a certain feel. So it's really difficult to compare. But
Mm,
for me personally, I enjoy picture books because I like the picture aspect. Yes, especially since I'm an illustrator myself. I tend
mm,
to be drawn to the visual imagery, and
mhm,
because I really enjoy the animal, the anthropomorphism. as you have
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
This aspect, I really enjoy reading it and seeing it.
That's interesting.
But when it
Okay.
comes to deeper
Mm,
themes, obviously
mm,
Tom's Midnight Garden carries a lot deeper and themes, I would say.
nice. Okay, so let's talk about favorites. Who else shares the sentiment? Who likes the pictured book more? You may want to raise your hand.
I agree with Stefana.
Mm,
It's true that I like picture book because they have picture that are full of meanings
mm.
and they talks more than the words does or do.
Yeah, they can help us even with the words. I mean, sometimes the words are not enough for a full understanding and appreciation. So you would go to the picture, the image, you try to kind of engage with it and come up with meaning. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Who else is for the picture book, Tom's Midnight? I'm sorry, the Tale of Peter Rabbit. So I'll take it that the rest are Hala. You can you come to the mic and share why you think that the picture book is perhaps better than, I mean, I'm talking about the experience, obviously. Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Me personally, I mean, it like gives more context to the stories. Like, you wouldn't use your imagination. Some people find it hard. So the picture book demonstrates like what's actually happening instead of imagining it in your head.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So, and then you have Tom's Midnight Garden, where if you're into fantasy, that's the thing because it takes you to places that you otherwise are not familiar with. I mean, it takes you back to the past. It makes you relive experiences that you're not likely to experience because it's simply past, right? And every age has its own, flavor and characteristics. Okay, right. Let's now talk about Tom's Midnight Garden and let's reflect on the whole experience. I think Sufana has something about that to share with us. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good point. And I was talking about just that. Nagwa is saying that she likes novels more because she normally wants to imagine things. She doesn't want things to be ready-made in a picture or a movie where obviously uh, um, we where we forgo the experience of imagining things by watching a movie, by having images, um, because in this case you're not given choices to imagine things the way you want. Uh, um, you're held hostage to the imagination of the director if it's a movie, or the artist and the illustrator if it's a picture book. So this is a very good idea that Nagwa is raising the idea that um, picture books do not have pictures, which means that you have to go out of your way and try to think and imagine and build scenarios. And this is a pleasure like no other. And for some people, of course. Okay, thank you, Najwa, for the insight and the contribution. Let's move to, I think somebody was saying something. Was it Savannah or somebody else? Okay, so
I think it's
yeah,
regarding the themes, yes.
yeah, go ahead.
So the first thing that you mentioned was the title, which made us all think, why exactly is it Tom's Midnight Garden? Well, the story contains a lot more aspect about Hattie. And through further discussion with you, we uncovered that Hattie is a catalyst for Tom. She pushes him into boyhood after he, experiences childhood. Which brings me to another aspect is the duality of the story, which is something that I really enjoyed. There's like the aspect of night and day, the realism and magic, the logic and emotion. Hattie is a reflection almost of Tom, the past and present. This sense of
Binaries.
everything
This,
is balancing each other. Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
is it, yeah, and obviously people would think about it in this way, along those lines, the idea
Yes.
that there is a balance, and some other
Mhm.
people may say that we're talking about binaries, black and white, male and female, and obviously this is also can be very limiting if you reduce reality to binaries. This is
Mhm.
something that some people don't normally like. Okay, go on, go on. You're doing a good
I
job.
don't see
Yeah, sir.
I don't really see it as, but I feel like it reflects all the aspects of childhood where you maintain the aspect of the magic that a child has at the same time growing into adulthood where you reflect being mature. So you're in this phase of the in between, which reflects the 12-hour clock. He's
Mm,
in the in between time. He's not
mm,
really a fully mature adult and he's not really a child anymore. This is why I really like this idea that he's like in lost in time.
mm,
Another thing for me, which is I really liked, is the fact about Abel. Considering all the aspects of the story, not really much, nobody really sees him except for Hattie and some of the animals, which raises the question why was Abel able to see him? And I've read some of the critics, I think, and a lot of them said that maybe it's because he has this sensibility that is same to the place itself, and because he's the most person who has a close relationship to Hattie, and since he's her like protector, he's able to see um Tom.
mm.
What else did I like about the? I think that's it. Oh yeah, there's an echo of Peter Pan in the Secret Garden. It holds these
Mm.
two aspects of the story. And what else? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me at this point.
Okay, thank you, Sufana. Rahad,
Doctor, can I
you,
answer?
yeah, yeah. That's not. We're not asking questions for people to answer. We're
Not
engaging
questions, I meant my
in
opinion.
in a nice conversation. Yalla, go ahead, ya Rahad.
I've noticed the theme of like adult repression, repressing like the children's emotions. So at the beginning, you see Tom going through feelings of alienation and how like the adults are forcing rules on him, which made him like emotionally a little more repressed and more sad. And you can see how his emotional growth transferred when he went through like the experience in the garden and meeting Hattie, where he now is able to express his emotions. Now he feels more freedom. So that was, I think that was very interesting, and how you see like life, how kids see life and understand emotion versus how adults view things.
Yeah, that's interesting. This is a very, yeah, beautiful insight. Thank you, Rahad. Yeah, yeah, pretty much what I was thinking of when I first read the novel, and yeah, lots of ideas, as you can see, lots of engagement with reality and different ways of looking at life. Again, you have this perennial conflict between the generations and this mutual mistrust. The old do not like the new, I mean, the young, and obviously the young are not very obedient because sometimes some of the rules are um, do not enjoy any relevance anymore, right? So you will have this, and this is perhaps one of the binaries that we unlocked in the novel, the idea of having the old generation with their views, and obviously they are so set in their old ways. And you have the young generation, um, you know, trying to not violate but challenge ideas that they deem perhaps fossilized, perhaps old, and to each his own. I mean, people are entitled to their own views and opinions as long as they are not violent or promoting violence. Um, but look at the end. Who perhaps, I don't know whether I should be asking this question or thinking of it, the idea, who won at the end? Who is uh, Tom following? Did he stick to his opinions about time? Because obviously, time for him is not linear, or it wasn't linear when he was talking to his uncle about imagine the imagination. Obviously, with the imagination, you don't you don't move in a linear way from the past to the present to the future. But the imagination and its power, you're taken back to the past, and sometimes in other contexts, you may be taken to the future. So obviously, Tom and his views are obviously different from those of the old generation. His uncle, I mean, his uncle has those traditional views about time and about the imagination. So traditional. He was, and he is a traditional person. So again, my big question is, how did the novel end? Do you think that there was a reconciliation of a sort between the ideas, the old generation and the young generation, or did the old generation win? And obviously, the trajectory of the novel at the end um, is decided. I mean, it goes, or it went to a certain direction. The idea that Tom is now more understandable of perhaps where his uncle comes from in terms of ideas. He is ready to accept what he didn't accept at the beginning. He is now perhaps aware that life has a trajectory that nobody should ignore. The idea that it's there is an element of inevitability at the end. You have to move from being young to being older, and then you have the end of things. So this is perhaps one of the things that Tom learned along the way, so which means that it aligns him more to the old generation, who, of course, believe in the idea of linearity, the fact that life is linear and there is no stopping of this linearity. Um, Again, in order to come to those realizations, um, a character like Hattie has to come, and she would be very instrumental in the change that we're seeing at the end. And that's why we normally refer to Hattie as a catalyst, not a tool. She's not a dramatic tool, she is a catalyst. The catalysts are known for their ability to transform, to effect drastic changes. And this is what exactly Hattie did. She transformed Tom to the extent that the Tom that we meet at the end is totally different from the grumpy Tom that we meet at the beginning. He is even more accepting of the fact that Hattie is no more than Mrs. Or Slomo, the landlady. So of course this took some negative toll on him, but it didn't last. He was ready to move on. Yeah, I think somebody was saying something. Let me see who's this somebody is. Wafa is saying yes, Tom did not stick to the traditional or linear idea of time. For him, time was flexible and could be experienced differently. Through his imagination, he discovered that time does not always move in a straight line from past to present to future. But actually, it's not a realization. Um, he it's not, I'm trying to say that it's not his imagination that helped him come to this realization. No. Imagination or his imagination empowered him and enabled him to think of things in terms of um, non-linearity, if you like, where we're now in the present, we can go to the past, and perhaps sometimes some other time we may go to the future. So it's only after he got hardened by the life experiences of Hattie and what she described to him, her miseries and what she went through, it's only then that he started to kind of reconsider a lot of things. Among them would be the idea that there is no escaping from the linearity of life. So it's not obviously his imagination. And obviously, imagination can create atmospheres and worlds that are not concrete or possible. This is perhaps what is nice about dreams, for example. And then, if you are dreaming, you are in a world, in the world of the imagination, where obviously the sky is the limit when it comes to what you think of and what you think you can achieve, and the people that you meet and the ages that you can visit. It can be past, it can be future. Um, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think somebody wanted to say something.
Yes, doctor, can I say?
Yeah, yeah, of course, Go ahead.
Yes. The problem between Tom and his uncle, that his uncle is like a guy who is um, working as a scientist who doesn't believe in anything unless it is proven by science. So
Yeah.
he is a practical guy, and uh, it's not the way that Tom think about stuff.
Hmm.
It doesn't
Yeah.
go along with his uncle. He is a different person in
Yes.
everything. So yeah, Tom is disciplined. He doesn't yeah, reject him. He just listen to him. But of course, that wonderful magical experience of the garden, it shaped him, and it it changes him to into a better boy, with better life experiences, because he met a new world which he will never forget, and it will shape him as a man in the future.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Thank Yeah, Noor, you wanted to say something to say more? Yeah, then. Yeah, okay. Yeah, go ahead, Sufan.
When in regards of the uncle, I feel like there's this aspect of the duality is whenever Tom has this conversation when he tries to rationalize things, um, Alan tends to be the voice of reason, and Gwen tends to be the one that talks and touches and be the one in touch with the magic. She brings up ghouls, she brings up fairies, while in contrast, Alan brings up logics and brings up science. So I feel like the story is kind of presenting both sides and giving Tom the chance to validate each. So magic is okay, and the science is also okay.
Yeah, but again, my question is, which of those two aspects um, wins at the end? Where are we headed towards the end of the novel? Where does Tom stand? Is he still under the impression that Hattie is the small girl that he has been with for quite some time, or is he going to come to terms with the fact that she is no more than an old woman who happens to be living on, I mean, above them, obviously, and it has all been uh, magical and a world of fantasy. Did he wake up from the long dream that he was in, or are we leaving the novel with him still in this deep dream? What do you think?
He acknowledges the fantasy side that he experienced and the magic side he experienced, but at the end, he has to be pushed into adulthood and he has to let go of Hattie because that's the whole core of the story is everything slipping away and that you have to move on.
Mhm. So is it, does the end tell people something? I mean, obviously, one way of looking at the novel would be that it's escapist literature, where it was written by the writer in order to perhaps give people the opportunity to fly away from their problems. They have challenges and problems in the post-war Britain, and moving all the way to the Victorian age was a kind of, diversion or relief, momentary relief. Um, so it can be this, right?
But don't you
Uh,
think, Doctor, that any literature can be seen as escapism because it's breaking you away from the reality of it?
well, it depends on what it promises and what it paints and draws. Sometimes you have miserable novels. Sometimes you have, thrillers that are full of, you know, bad stuff, murder, if we talk about detective stuff. These kinds of literatures obviously do not promise us anything. You wouldn't escape reality by reading a novel on and about murder, right? So it's not all literature. Part of it, or perhaps a substantial part of literature, is escapist. Yeah, it is true, but not all of it, right?
But a lot of people do enjoy these kind of thrillers and they find their joys in cutting their reality of the world and indulging in these kind of literatures.
Yeah, it's very weird.
It is the point of literature, I feel, to give you a different perspective and to cut you off a bit from the world that you're in.
This is not my way of escaping the world with its ills and evils, obviously. Yeah.
Mhm.
Again, we have this big disclaimer: to each his own. People are entitled to whatever they think of, and whatever. I mean, like I said, I mean, you can also be interpreting novels and stories in different ways. And obviously,
Yes.
the interpretation never ends. I mean, because you bring your own experience, your own knowledge, your background to the whole experience. So it's, yeah, nice, nice. What else? Tom's Midnight Garden.
Doctor,
Yeah, go ahead.
if if we may be excused around 6 because we have an activity for part A.
Wallahi,
Yeah.
you, hmm.
If
Lots of
that's
people,
okay.
that's fine. But
I'm not sure, but yani for me.
do you
Yes, doctor,
guys,
and I'm like Sofana.
hmm, hmm, hmm. Anybody else?
I only have part B.
Okay. طيب, we can, yeah, that's fine. We still have time and we can, like I said, we're likely to have a master class, but not on Thursday because it's going to be a podcast where your teachers will be featured. I'll have them and we will also engage in discussions about the novel and the picture book and everything in between. I don't want you to miss it. I'll arrange it with them, and I'm sorry, there is a fly, and obviously the place is closed. طيب, on this note and with this item, we come to the end of today's lovely master class, and I'll see you inshallah next week.
Thank you so much,
Salam.
Doctor.
You're welcome. Assalamu
Thank you so
alaikum.
much.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much.
Bye. Salam. Bye bye.